Hey, I want to thank you for being here. Let's do some pod crashing. Episode number 210 is with Maya Lau from Other People's Pockets. Oh, what I love about podcasting is the fact that we can take any subject and we can turn it into an episode. And I love the fact Other People's Pockets. That is such a, we would do things like that being on terrestrial radio, but it would only be a bit. And that's what I love about your podcast. This is more than a bit. These are stories.
Yeah, thank you. I do love asking people how much money you make, but then also, yeah, it's the whole story of how did you get there? What was your relationship with money growing up? What do you still struggle with? How did you get that job? I feel like it's all about the context of someone's life, whether they've made mistakes or not. It's just so interesting to hear about that. And I thank everybody for who's been on the show, because I know it's not easy to talk about your own finances. But yeah, it's been really fun so far.
Making mistakes, isn't that part of just growing up? And once we break free the 20s, go into our 30s, and we finally start wising up a bit. I learned from those mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that there's a brand of podcast out there that's like this, like, I'm a success and like, yes, here's how I made it. And, and I think that that's fine. And it's good to be inspired by that. But I think it's also like, not every episode can be like that. And not every person, that's not really the reality of most people's lives. So, yeah, I think hearing about people who made mistakes or who like do personal finance in a way that, there's people that have overspent in their lives or, have done things that are not the sort of standard wisdom, but they've steered themselves out of it. And it's just always interesting to hear, like, personal finance is not about like, okay, everybody should all do, these 5 steps. It's like a very personal thing. If you can finagle your way through the world, then good for you, but let's hear about how you did it.
Well, then you've got people like Carmen Gonzalez as well, who makes the money, but Carmen is very loving to toward the community and really embraces that. Yeah,
she's an immigrant. Was undocumented. Recently became a citizen, making $900 a month, living with her parents in her early 20s. But yeah, she really believes in sharing. When she's putting together her Amazon cart on Amazon, it's like, who else needs something? Who else wants to put something in the cart? I'm going to get it. I just got paid. Like, she just really believes that if there's enough for us, there's enough for everyone. And it's a different way of looking at money, because I think in our society, it's so hard to get by that you start to be selfish. You start to feel like, well, I need to just hold on to what I have, because otherwise, like, I'll never get ahead. But I think that everyone's philosophy is different. And I think that she finds a lot of wealth in a different way from spending on her community.
I don't do money the way that my parents did money, and I sure don't do money the way that my family does money. But I'll tell you what, though, one of the things that my mother planted was save it for a rainy day. I still believe in that theory.
And do you practice it?
I absolutely do. Oh my God!
How do you do
yes.
it? How do you do it and not touch the savings?
Well, what I do is that the multiple jobs that I do have, I don't call them jobs, I call them choices. The multiple choices that I do have, what I do is I keep it all in separate banks, and then and there's rules that you cannot go over there and touch that money unless it does this, and so therefore it's not coming out of one pocket; it's coming out of several.
Yeah. Do you do the thing where some people like open an account at a bank that is like far away, that they don't even have an online presence, that you'd have to like cross state lines to like go to the bank? If you really needed the money, you could get it, but they make it intentionally so hard for themselves. Do you do that?
I have to drive to the bank, and what I did was I don't want to get used to the digital. Hey, take a picture of this check and let it go in. I don't want to get used to that because that's too easy. So therefore, I make it a pain in my butt that I have to physically drive to deposit that check.
Yeah. You're so rare. So many people don't have this discipline. Like, you realize that you're not poor. A common.
I came from a very poor family. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah. And do you have this like feeling of stability and like this, does it, it sounds like it's paid off for you, like doing this, and you've reached a level of stability doing this.
Comfort. Because with this banking world that we live in today, which is just freaking the heck out of me right now. And it's just,
I know. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
Your money now?
It's out of my hands, man. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But how do you get into the mindset of someone when you start talking about money? Because it is an emotional thing for a lot of people, because you're talking about dreams. You're talking about something that keeps them connected to their own little worlds.
Yeah, and I think that obviously we screen people before coming on the show that, do you want to come on and talk about your own personal finances? But I think that I try to make it clear that I am really curious. So this is not a judgmental space. I think that there's too much judgment that goes on when you hear about somebody's money. But yeah, it is a weird thing. I think that people, especially if they share their net worth, I mean, that feels like the price tag on their head. It feels like it's all reduced to that. It's all just, am I a success or not? And people are going to judge based on that number. But I think that, people tend to open up a lot when you ask about their money upbringing. Everyone has kind of an interesting story about their childhood and what was or wasn't talked about, because even if money wasn't talked about in your home, you still learned something about money as a child. Children learn everything. So I think that just, trying to be curious about their lives, but it is hard. And there are times when people shut down on certain questions that I ask and open up on others. And it's always interesting to see, where people's comfort levels are.
Yeah, to me, it's almost, money is like the social media in the way that it's like we all put up fake pictures and fake smiles and things, and we're all judged by that. And I think that money's the same way. We'll show it off. We'll go out and get a brand new car. We'll get a new roof for our house. Oh, they must have money.
Yeah. Yeah, or some people who have a lot of money specifically don't do those things.
Yeah.
They just that maybe that's why they have money, is that they don't go out and buy the new car. But yeah, it is. I'm all for salary transparency, and at the same time, I realize that sometimes it's TMI. Like sometimes it's like, I didn't need to see all my coworkers in their bathing suit today. I just did. It's just sometimes it's a little much, and you have to kind of be prepared for the information. It's in a certain context. But yeah, I think that we all walk around with a mask on, and to some extent that protects us and allows us to be social people, because I guess there's a reason why humans like wear clothing and do certain things to not be totally exposed. But it is, I think that also like too much silence around it, too much just not talking about it is what leads to people being underpaid. And, the silence tends to favor the employers who don't want their employees to organize and talk amongst themselves.
That is so true, because, I mean, it's like, coworkers want to discuss, how much money are you making? We're not going there. We're just not going there, because you don't need to know and I don't need to know, because I guarantee you it's going to create a division here.
Yeah, and I think that is that mindset. I think that can be true, and I also think it's changing, especially among younger people. There's an understanding of like, I'm probably going to have some hurt feelings when I find out the truth, but I do need to know, because, as I go into asking for a raise or negotiating a contract with my next employer, knowledge is power. And especially for, I was, we're in the same field of journalism and media. You'd be surprised at how many people can report the hell out of a story that they put in the paper or on the radio, but when it comes to finding out the information, reporting out salaries in their own lives, they don't do it. They don't want to do it. It's like, how many people have you asked, do you know that the real numbers of the people in your industry or at your level, what they're being paid? And they don't know, and it's awkward. But it's just like anything else. Like, in order to do a good story, you got to get sources. you got to get the data points. So I think it's important, as people try to get raises and stuff like that, to not just go on glassdoor.com, but to actually ask real human people about how much they make, if they can, and try to use that information to feel more confident in asking for a raise.
Well, look at how sports has changed, because everybody, I've talked with more people that don't even watch it anymore because of how much money these sports heroes really are making. And I think that's such a turnoff when people find out that, oh my God, you are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of judgments, and it's again, it's understandable. And at the same time, like I try to, in my life, I'm not always great at this, but like whenever I feel kind of negative or scared of something, to like, okay, how can I turn this judgment into curiosity? It's just like when you're little and you're really scared of spiders, and your teacher's like, you should read a book on spiders. Like, you should try to learn about them. And once you do, you'll find like, interesting. I didn't know spiders did this. It kind of breaks away some of the fear. And so I think that I really do think that it's something like sex where, I don't know, 50 years ago, there's certain things you just don't talk about, even with your own partner. But there's more of an understanding of like, we need to talk about these things. Yeah. It's not so weird, and it's just information. And, the more we get comfortable with having that conversation, the more we can maybe just know how to handle that when we find out. But that's interesting. I didn't know that anyone was not watching sports purely because of their income. I hadn't really heard, I believe it. I hadn't really heard that before.
Yeah, but their follow-up answer, and I'll go, so where do you get your sports fix then? Well, I watch professional wrestling. Oh, my God. You've traded the NFL for professional wrestling. Thanks, dude. But, you brought up an interesting point about sex and money. Now we have to talk about Mistress Marley. There's a connection for you.
Yep. I mean, the intersection of sex and money is always. So she is somebody I interviewed. Mistress Marley is a financial dominatrix. And what that is she is also a normal dominatrix. So what you would think of with whipping and dungeons and stuff. But part of her practice is that she is online and she posts pictures of herself. She's very sexy. And she kind of berates people online and then tells them to send her money. And like, that's it. There's no sex. There's no sexual contact. Mm-hmm. Occasionally she will put a collar on someone and take them to the ATM, and they'll take out money for her. And then that's it. So she makes pretty good money doing this. And it's a really interesting look inside, our psychology, or at least the psychology of her clients, who tend to be men, tend to be CEOs or people in power that, they're bossing people around all day. And at the end of their day, they kind of want to be bossed around. They kind of want to not have to make the decisions. And it's kind of their kink to lose power through losing money in their wallet. Like different strokes for different folks. But yeah, she makes good money off of this and loves it, and feels like she also has an actual connection to her clients, that they truly thank her for this service. It's all very fascinating.
Don't you think money is an addiction just like drugs and alcohol?
I think it can be. Yeah. I think it can be. I think I was hearing someone the other day saying, we're all on the addiction spectrum. Like, it's not like, oh, there's some addicts out there and then everyone else is fine. I think that you tend to be, the more money you have, the more space it occupies in your brain. And sometimes you can become obsessed with it. The more you have, the more you are aware of other people that have even more, because you're in circles where you're going to parties where people are talking about their vacations or whatever. I think there are some people who aren't addicted, but they're probably rare. And I just think that our society, you have to make so much money just to get ahead in our society by and large. And so it kind of forces you to fixate on this thing that maybe in another universe, we didn't have to be so addicted, but, just to get ahead, you feel like you have to really double down.
Well, one group of people I still want to study in a big way, cryptocurrency people, because, is this fad finally over, or is it just going through a stumbling right now?
I think it's just going through a stumbling. I think that there are still these diehard crypto people that believe that, it's about kind of the underlying technology and blockchain. And I think it is so interesting, because even as of, a year ago, like, I feel like crypto was seen as like, maybe we should all get into crypto, kind of cool. And like, you should learn about it. And now it's like, oh God, these scam artists. But I think that, I don't know. I think it's going to rear its head again, and I don't know. Ultimately, is it for real? Is it going to be successful? But I do think we're going to keep hearing a lot more about it.
Well, we're probably going to hear a lot more about these AIs too, because I think they're trying to figure us out when it comes to buying. I mean, we could be talking about something right now, and 5 seconds from now, it's going to come up on my Facebook, and it's going to say, "You can buy this right now." Oh my God, I've got to have it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole world of AI is so crazy. I mean, the thing is, we've had AI in our world before. It's not like only now has it appeared, but now it's just more sophisticated. And it is, like it's crazy. I was just talking to somebody who works in AI, and they were like, oh, don't worry about all the, the worst case scenarios with what could happen. Like, ultimately, there's still human beings that control the technology. And it's like, yeah, but isn't isn't the fear that like the technology will become smarter than us, or it's like I don't know. I just think that it's a fascinating area, and it frankly, like on the sort of investment side or on the Wall Street side, the AI is seen as something absolutely to invest in. So then it's just going to get more money, going to get better. I don't know what to say about all that, but it does freak me out a bit.
Well, and your podcast is a great investment, too, because it almost, you make us feel like that we're kind of vicariously tuning into somebody else's life, where we're kind of just, listening, and you just make us a part of the community with the subjects that you bring up. And I'm just so proud of you for doing something like this.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate that.
Well, please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Great. Thanks. What do you want to, like, what do you have? Are there topics that you
I think that the topic I would love for you to do, everybody is in this roundup mode. I want to know with the roundup that they're doing at these grocery stores, it's going to community, companies and things. I want to know, can we use that as a tax write-off? I'm waiting for a show like that if we really did our homework, and if I went up 90 cents today, can I use that? Because eventually by the end of the year, it's gonna add up. I want to use that as a tax write-off.
But who's keeping track? So like at the store, they're keeping track, but they're not giving you a statement.
No.
At the end of the year.
No.
Like they're just taking the money.
Yeah. You want to round up? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But that's just something for you to dig into.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.